Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Upsurge Premier League Spring 2021 Semifinals. We're getting a lot closer to finding our two top competitors here in this season. My name is Sticula. Joining me here by my side is Chief for a great game of action tonight. We've got Mystic taking on X13. Bit of a curious matchup given Mystic's reign of hell that they've been unleashing on T3 recently, and X13 making a surprising run in a lot of people's eyes.
Mystic has been this roster that is just slaughtering everything. Even back when they were known as aggro, they're a team that just hit the scene where their feet just running nonstop. And X13, I mean, they have a plethora of experience as well, but they have to bring something to the table that we haven't yet seen if they want to topple the new juggernaut of Team Mystic.
Yeah, it's really going to be a tough one. X13 had a great regular season performance, actually finishing at the top of their group, which I would say was a little bit unexpected. They have great talent, obviously. J Slime, incredible fragger. The roster and the foundation that they have behind them is really solid. It's just kind of the new nature of their roster. I believe only having been together for about 2 or 3 months. So the experience, it's been there. The practice has been going on, and to build up their level as a team. But when you look across the playing field, their opponents are equally as dangerous. And so I think a lot of the onus today is going to be on X13 to try to upset Mystic, because a lot of times we're talking about Mystic as one of the teams that's probably going to make it to the grand finals and has been preparing to do so from the very start of the season.
Reese, you mentioned in the Raven Conference, X13 would be the highest seed. Now, we would see Team Mystic also participate in the Raven Conference. They finished in that third place seed, but partly because of forfeit they had at the beginning of the season. So, in theory, Team Mystic could have finished with the exact same scoreline of 4-on-1 like X13 did. So, maybe these rosters could have, fought for that top seed, but unfortunate forfeit put Team Mystic in a bad position. But now they finally get to meet up once again here in that postseason. But as we talk more about the postseason, we have to talk about our match today, and the maps that we're going to be having are for our best of 3.
Yep, let's go ahead and roll them on out and figure out where we're going. Coastline and Consulate, two of those more ranked style maps, eliminated right from the get-go. We'll have X13 decide to pick Villa, which is a bit of an interesting one. I would say that Mystic are a fairly capable team on Villa. Second map in series, Mystic's pick will be Cafe Dostoevsky, and then rounding us out will be Clubhouse. Unfortunately, we did have X13 playing Spoiler. They decided to ban Chalet. We can only get Chalet so many times here in the postseason, but every time that we head into the veto, us casters definitely crossing our fingers with the hopes that we can get there. In my eyes, I'm really happy that we have Villa as the first map. I'm keen to see how X13 can play on it, obviously showing their performance already playing on this map in the quarterfinals, and it was a really impressive showing there. So maybe this is sort of playing into the minds of X13. Yes, Mystic are a good team on the map, but X13, it's tried and true. They know they can show up, and they know that they can perform on Villa.
Hopefully X13 did their due diligence yesterday and watched the RSA stream where Mystic would play against Synthetic, probably the best underage roster on Villa, and Mystic would beat Synthetic in round 15, that final round of overtime. So an enterprising roster like X13 could learn from the mistakes that Team Mystic had, because that Villa game I know was very frustrating for all 10 players involved because there was a lot of mistakes being made. If X13 is able to understand those mistakes, like the droning errors that Team Mystic was making. All the drones were being lost in the first 60 seconds for Team Mystic. If X13 can start to exploit that, maybe bring out a Mute Mozzie combination, we might see the tables turn in favor of X13.
Yeah, I think that's probably the right way to go here. Play the intel denial game right from the get-go, but we'll have a little bit more answers, a little bit more context to our question as we prepare to jump over towards Villa and the operator vetoes to see who's actually going to get removed. Villa can be fairly dynamic sometimes. A lot of times you're going to see a range hard breacher, so your Ace or your Habana, just because of that need to almost always open a wall. Trying to play a Maverick or a Thermite can be a little bit dangerous at times. X13 will take away the Habana as the first ban, and I just have to wonder if maybe Team Mystic are going to remove the Nomad to maybe add a little bit more flexibility in their defensive rotations.
Well, that was one of their problems yesterday. They removed the Nomad, and all of a sudden they started to get flanked, but it also allowed Gunner to do his, well, Gunner impressions and work his way up stairwells and take far too many gunfights and not get killed as a result. So that's something X13 does have to be aware of. But a Thatcher, a very common ban, he's always removed. But since we do have Clubhouse as our final map, I'm really hoping that Thatcher makes it through because we've seen some phenomenal Clubhouses with Thatcher on the board. Information has been a prime ban of late for defending teams, and Valkyrie has always spearheaded those bans, usually followed up by another information operator, whether or not it's a Maestro or a Mira. It just depends on how the attack wants to push on forward because Miras are quite oppressive, but Maestros force a brand new and a different style of minigame, but it will be the Mira finally removed.
Yeah, trying to clear out Miros is fairly difficult at this point in time. It's sort of distracting, it slows down your attack, so just removing your flat out should make this a little bit easier, and the attackers aren't going to have to develop and spend so much time focusing on that vertical play to disrupt the Black Mirrors from below. Aviator will come through first, as Mystic are going to show quite a curious lineup. You've got both Intel operators Dokkaebi and Iana. Asian is going to switch over towards the Jackal, probably just preparing for the 6th pick, though I feel like you could play either one. Asian just a little bit of indecision in which flank clear, rather roam clear operator he wants to bring for the first round of play. Dokkaebi could be a fairly amicable pick here, but Asian will decide in the end that it's going to be the Jackal for round 1.
I'm excited to see Jackal be played here on Villa because we all know so many defending teams are expanding their defense out. Most teams are starting in planes and games. That's where X13 is going to put their primary bomb site. And they have a couple options. They can expand over to the north to have these roams over by Trophy. We've also seen a lot of teams start to roam downstairs underneath this exact bomb site because the attacking roster is starting to push in through library and starting to do a vertical clear from underneath, destroying whatever utility can be seen. Now, that meta was started because Mira was allowed more and more through the ban phases, but since she was that final ban, it's an option that Team Mystic has. It's an option that they used yesterday in RSA, and that was actually what made Team Mystic unique in every single one of their attacks. They never replicated an attack. Sometimes they do the linear clear from study, they would end up winning it. Then the next round, they'd push in for the north. They would end up winning that every single time Mystic executed on planes and games, they won it, and they never replicated their attacks. And that's what I love about Team Mystic. They're going to be always analyzing their opponents and breaking them down.
But you know how the old saying goes, Chief, variety is the spice of life, and that definitely strikes true in Siege. If you go for the same play over and over again, the defense has got an opportunity to kind of read into that and start predicting how you play. Maybe, you know, somebody goes outside a window every single round and just, or maybe something like repels on 90. Well, if you spot that out and you know that's kind of like a behavior that's really repeated, you could just send somebody to fly out of the bathroom window, and that could cause a lot of problems if you lose your 90 player early. An aggressive play by Craze is he kind of just sort of lurking and pushing the bounds of the objective. I sort of like the way that X13 have got this held so far. They managed to deny Team Mystic from securing control of Red Short and kind of the top landing area in general, which is going to benefit them later. Allowing the attackers to set up inside long 90 is going to cause a lot of problems, and if you can deny them from that, it can really cause a stall out later. But look at this, J Slime is playing the M870, one swing, one shell around the corner, and he'll pull away with the kill on a gunner, but Kick secures the trade in the meanwhile as Craze got a little bit swing happy at the top of the steady stairwell.
Yo, J Slime didn't even need an ACOG. He was just that good. Watch your toes, Asian. You have to be very careful trying to get around that 90 corridor because of that drone hole. He goes for the elevated. Now he tries to go for a prone, taking that gunfight against Snows, but he got off that angle at that wrong moment. Asian knows that the biggest execute here is going to be on that deployable shield over in that classical hallway. Kick's trying to apply pressure from the other side of the map, setting up that 180 crossfire. He gets felled. Bry collects another, and the rotation in through study. An incredible play with that pistol. And now Team Mystic, only 2 of their operators remain, and they're forced to change up their execute. With now Asian falling off the board, another kill for that shotgun. J Slime is looking good, and now Silent has to find 4. Isolated over a 90, and he's going to have to continue to take picks. He doesn't know when rotated over on that zombie door. He heard that slight audio cue, now trying to hold that angle, but X13 is going to go for the swing. It's a free connect for Bry, a 3K in the round, and X13 takes round 1.
An impressive performance, to say the least, from Malusi there. Got the first pick to down and confirm on the study veranda. Now pressured by the Iana from the reverse repel on study window, she just pulls out the pistol and eliminates that repelled player, making it look like it was a party trick. X13, that was really something of a round, and you gotta give some credit to Jay Slime with the M870, that old shotgun. Not a lot of people are gonna say that's a viable weapon in the loadout of the Jaeger, but I mean, it worked for him, and that was enough to slow down Mystic, who looked fairly uncoordinated, never really getting settled in on their first attack, and maybe that's something they need to work at, trying to really establish a more thought-through plan, and I don't know. A lot of recommendations that you can make there, but X13 on the rotation for their second site will not choose to go to the upstairs sister site, instead heading down to the tertiary land of dining and kitchen and bringing more of that drone denial meta that we spoke about in the pregame. J Slime and Snows bringing in the mutant Mozzie should slow down Team Mystic. Removing that drone economy can be very helpful, and with how Team Mystic failed to set up in the previous round, having a lack of drones will not make that any easier.
Do you think the M870 is just because the 416 has been nerfed into oblivion and people just don't want to run it, so they're trying to find alternate opportunities?
I wouldn't go so far to say that, but, you know, Villa has got a few close quarters positions, and that shotgun, it's kind of a scary weapon.
I mean, especially, I know you and I both came from console, and that weapon on console was just a beast. Anybody and everybody be running that weapon. And 5 nitro cells to be seen from X13. That is a true call center from hell. And if you ever want to execute on that second floor, you have to be incredibly careful. Now, Team Mystic yesterday in RSA, most of their pushes on this first floor, well, or for the first floor bomb site, was also first floor execute, which means they really didn't put a lot of emphasis on clearing master bedroom. They tried to do an atypical execute and force X13 in positions that they just weren't quite ready to hold. And a good example that is an opening duel that Gunner just got. A lot of emphasis for X13 was looking sky high, but they weren't quite ready to take an angle over by bike window.
Cage shut down early, and now Elsist just finally recognized what was going on there. Takes a lot of damage playing on the jump up inside Memo. Mystic have kind of changed their attack plan a little bit. You have sort of a dual threat pressure coming in. You have a horizontal presence. The Buck had earlier opened the piano wall, and now Kix has moved into living room. At least he had, until he got felled by Bry, who was playing that vertical angle from up inside of statue side. But unfortunately, he will get pretty much the brunt of Team Mystic here in this round, as things have fallen to bits. Gunner, the big impact player so far, the only 2 kills to his credit. If he can accomplish a little bit more, it seems unlikely. Confirmed by J Slime playing from Tetris, which will leave Silent, the Nomad, alone in this world with out the case currently. And the next plan for her, try to recover that, but still a little wary about what might be lurking from up above in a late spot from the camera. It's not going to make this clutch attempt any easier, as J Slime will pull away for X13, who establish a solid 2-round margin.
Silent forced to be in that 1vx scenario, something he wasn't able to overcome. We even saw Team Mystic get the opening kill, but after that, their full control started to stall. They tried to take control of the first floor, which they did after getting that opening duel, but then they worked their way up the red stairs to try to go for a traditional execute on that kitchen bomb site. Unfortunately, they started to move a little bit too quickly. They didn't quite have the drone information, and it allowed Brian to sit almost in a quarter by stat and just get kill after kill. A 2K for him. J Slime also grabbed a 2K. Team Mystic was all over the place that round, playing as individuals, and unfortunately, that meant that they died as individuals. Moving forward, Team Mystic needs to start to play more as a cohesive unit as they start to execute on what is considered a secondary bomb site upstairs in Trophy.
Yeah, I mean, their attacks in general just got to be a little bit more coherent. The first one looked like they had a solid plan in mind. It was like a push from Trophy and Statue, but They were constantly worried about Craze, who was playing fairly aggressive at 90 corner and short. Eventually, Craze fell back to try to play top study. He got killed, but Mystic have not been able to really capitalize off the back of these entry picks. It usually just gets traded out, and that's always generally going to favor the defense there for X13, and, well, that's been the story so far. Look at this. A lot of development to hold below. Barricades and reinforcements. X13 are not looking to hand over that card of the vertical play to Team Mystic, and when you've got an operator like the Cade and his Electro Claws, having the ability to hold on to Tetris can often mean an inability for the attack team to open up the triple wall.
You know, we saw 5 Nitrocells back in round 2. None of them found its target, and then moving into round 3, we're still going to see a large amount of Nitrocells, 2 of them, but I wonder if they'll actually find their targets, because X13's strategy, at least in the previous rounds, were just face-checking corners on defense, swinging and winning. So Team Mystic needs to be prepared for this continued level of aggression. They're doing a 2-pronged assault, pushing in from the south as well as the east, trying to apply as much pressure to the bomb side of X13. Now, Reese was mentioning that there is a lot of reinforcements, green barricades down on that first floor, and it seems like Team Mystic has already identified that as being a problem part, and they don't want to push it at all. Instead, they're going for a direct sight, execute. LS falls, an incredible operator, lose early on, smoke off the board, 30 seconds of time denial, unable to participate here in round 3.
Well, a well-placed question mark there for Gunner, as Zelsist was not the player that I would put inside of Bathroom, and Gunner will double down as Jay Slime tried to swing and trade out his teammate. Mystic have got a really solid grasp on the side at current, because X13 are still in the process of trying to rotate back. But look at this, now it seems as though Craze might be trapped inside a Memorial, and the health pool quite low for this moment. Nitro toss, but it gets shot out of midair, leaving only Bry to try to work his way through the 1-on-4 clutch. Does net the first, but now has to figure out where Kix is planting undefended at concrete, but Silent is there for the trade, as Mystic will put a round on the board.
Bry is looking absolutely phenomenal right now, hitting just about every single shot he's presented. Unfortunately, a 1v4 like that, he can be a player that is heating up. He's just not going to be able to take so many of those gunfights. A valiant effort, though, converting that 1v4 into a 1v2, but unfortunately, too many targets still alive for him to directly take the challenge of. And in that round 3, you can see exactly what Mystic wants to do. They want to have a swift execute where they apply pressure immediately to every single square inch of the hold of X13. Unfortunately, in the first 2 rounds, Team Mystic, they never really had those success factors simply because they're playing so quickly that they were overlooking angles and they weren't able to challenge all those held positions of X13. This round, in round 3, Team Mystic was able to already learn where X13 was playing, whether or not it was based off information, droning, or just game sense. Every gunfight they took, they looked unstoppable.
Yeah, that was a different pace than we've had so far this game. Mystic, they got the opener onto the smoke. Another one was fed into Gunner, and then it was kind of the domino effect. Over and over again, Mystic secured picks. X13 did have a few trades here or there, but it was not enough to slow down the Team Mystic machine, ultimately resulting in full site control and the inevitability of a plant. Bry taking some early damage from Elsa's trying to do the site setup work, not what you like to see here, especially at this sort of transitional moment. That could be a bit of a tilter for the Melusi to have to start off the round already from less than an optimal health position.
Snows is trying to put down this Goyo shield. He's been doing it for a minute now, and he just gives up. So unfortunate to see, but I'm gonna be honest, I've never seen a deployable shield be mounted in that position before, so I'd be shook if you could actually place one there. We see Melusi Wubwubs there placed all the time, and you may as well place dead bodies of Team Mystic as Gunner, who's always in one of the opening engagements, whether it's the opening duel or the opening death in this case. He's going to find himself in that scenario once again, but falling early on. He was trying to peek in from the east study balcony, but a little bit too rambunctious with that peek. Has now lost his life. Eddie is still trying to fill in the shoes of his fallen comrade, participating in a utility clear over by the main stairs.
Top study is not going to be the easiest thing to clear. ADS burn will come again, and The nade is sent through, actually managing to detonate the Vulcan shield and also clear out the Melusi's Banshee. That's going to allow progress here to be just a little bit quicker, but things are not all done because you don't have Gunnar playing on the study balcony. Your pressure is fairly low, and it's going to allow J-Slime to pull a maneuver like this. And Elsis is going to double up the headshot on the Eddie. This study take has just been a complete disaster for Mystic. They're going to have to fall off and pretty much hedge their bets. Kix is gone now, and again, it'll be the Nomad, the only remaining attacker without really any advantages. Silent has got less than 50 health, 3 flashbangs, and, well, now he doesn't have anything. As X13 are going to claim their 3rd round flawless one.
So if we saw Team Mystic play yesterday in RSA, you know what they're trying to do there. They try to remove the utility over by the main stairs, and then somebody is relegated to hold that small shotgun pixel peek over by U-bar, and then the call for Team Mystic is just to push. Unfortunately, Asian trying to hold that pixel peek, he walked a little bit too far away from that held position, straight into J-Slime's gun barrel. As soon as Asian fell, Team Mystic realized that they now had a -2 man disadvantage. They're forced to challenge the main stairs, and then they lost even more kills. The whole strategy for Team Mystic is to execute on those main stairs fast. They need to overwhelm the defenders before they realize what's taking place. That puts the attacking roster in control of a good rotation part of the map, because if we look at that long hallway and study, when you have the majority of the defense playing in that position, if you're able just to take control of it immediately, their strategy devolves into something that they might not be prepared for. And then you can just continue that momentum into actually putting that diffuser down into U-bar, but seems Mystic was unable to do so. They just lost gunfights, and they stalled in one position. They need to be a little bit more prepared for the defense to hold in a fixed position if they want to just go for the YOLO execute.
Hopefully for Mystic, they can try to get a little bit more success. Their attacks have been, well, not the usual dominance that some might expect. X13 have played a really solid game so far, and have kind of read into the mistakes, the weaknesses that Mystic have left open for exploitation. Still 2 rounds left in the first half, so Mystic could make anything happen. Got the buck being brought now as well, so definitely Mystic having a focus on bringing some of that vertical play to soft destruction. You'll remember the crux of the previous round here for Mystic was Gunnar's entry performance coming into the bathroom, but so far Gunnar has been either really good or not on the playing field at all, being involved in all 4 of the opening fights, as you had mentioned earlier. That statistic really showing how Gunnar likes to play, not waiting for the rest of his team to show up, and spearheading without a doubt. Now it'll be Asian who really takes up that role. The Cade roaming inside of games is a bit of an unusual one. Craze holding for the long angle, but this is a really awkward position for him to be in, but Craze manages to make it work now. Nobody out on 90 corridor pressuring him is going to allow the Cade to continue burning time. Good attempt from Eddie to try to go for the wall bang, but it's just not going to materialize, and the Cade allowed to continue playing aggressive. The fact that he's not yet been cleared is a real warning sign. Playing close in the corner, he's finally shut down, but Eddie traded out in the meanwhile, and this round just does not even get to start for Mystic.
Pry has been a monster this lobby, particularly with that red dot pistol. He's been so good, and you couple that with the extension that Craze just did. Sure, Craze lost his life, but he wasted so much time. Gunnar, and an incredible headshot for him, a nice flick up. A step in the right direction, Team Mystic, but they still have a man disadvantage. Their teammates are fully spread out, and Gunnar has to be very careful with this lifeline in hand, since there's somebody pushing up the Astro stairs. He sees a player sitting over by the elevated boxes. He spots the shoulder, but unfortunately, he's just shooting that backpack. There's Snows coming up the Astro stairs, and once again, poor Silent against the entire standing roster of X13. A 1v3, a very difficult position to be in. He finds Elset, but still more members of X13 to hunt, pushing deeper into Stat. He can hear one over by Deers, but he's stuck in a crossfire. He has to be very careful of these engagements he takes. He doesn't have the diffuser, and Bry will now hit double digits. X13 takes round 5. And the way they're holding this map is something that Team Mystic is just unable to address.
I mean, a one-man roam in games, if you can't clear that, it's a Cade, for Christ's sakes. He's got the AUG. I mean, just open the wall, drone him out, and take him down. It's really not more complicated than that. I think X13 are just kind of capitalizing on the lack of forethought from Mystic. They don't expect somebody to roam there. They do a full clear. They open the wall, but it's just like they're a little bit passive in a moment where you definitely can't afford to be. You've got to shut down that Cade and prepare to move to the next step. But their focus and sort of an element of tunnel vision here is causing a lot of unseen problems, and it's failing to allow Mystic to put rounds on the board. X13 look very prepared. Craze has got a very unusual operator. I'm not sure if you've seen X13 play the Capcan, but I definitely have not seen this one before.
For some odd reason, we've been seeing a lot more Capcan in comp. Maybe because his primary weapon is an absolute laser beam, it has an angle grip, 1.5 times sight, or if comp teams are just so used in their traditional execute, clearing out the map and just pushing areas when they're going into an engagement, they're never going to check the bottom of a door frame. They're going to be checking at either crouch level or head level. And that's very important, because if you set yourself up in a bunch of scenarios where you force Team Mystic to swing corners rapidly, they could take free damage from a Capcan, and then they could take damage from your bullets. Unfortunately, though, that play was identified by Team Mystic. You saw that drone that's elevated over on the top of 90, so at least Team Mystic can be aware that there is an odd operator in play, but there is also information being played by X13. Pulse once again is being shown, and the insertion for Team Mystic over on the south side will be grabbed momentarily.
Hoping that Mystic can kind of elevate their pace so far. It seems they still have a idea in mind that X13 might try to play a bit of an extended roam, and they are right in that assumption, but it's in a different location than it was last time. A hold on statue, but also a Pulse and Capcan roam inside of living room and library, which is definitely the definition of extended. Assist has been detected, and the fall-off might be hit from the Pulse player, but the Capcan is still just hiding out, and Mystic are fairly languid in their presence. Hiding at the corner, he's now been droned out. This is do or die for Craze, and he definitely is gonna make this one work, as kicks will fall, but the trade secured by Asian, putting Mystic back on an even footing at 3-on-3. Asian, though not exactly the best health in mind, is still walked through one of the Capcan traps inside Mudroom, and now you'll begin to see the effectiveness of those EDD traps.
Still pushing on 4, though, both these rosters, the equal man account. About X13, they have 70 seconds left to hold their bomb site. They still have plenty of information and 3 Nitro Cells as well. Now, those Nitro Cells won't quite have the impact they would if Team Mystic was pushing that top side, that second floor, but we actually now see that adaptation being made. You don't have a lot of utility to remove the ceiling away from X13. The only thing you have is those flat place breaching charges. LS can now hear that remodel taking place above him. He pulls his Nitro Cell and is just waiting for it to connect with Asian. He's trying to gather some type of information, but he's just a little bit too far away to throw that Nitro Cell to its target. That execute still coming underway for Team Mystic. Frag grenades start to go down, softening up the held, and then he starts to flood on in. Silent finds one as well. An elevated position for Silent, but it's not quite grabbing him the kills that he wants. The Fuser was just temporarily surrendered. Silent now in a 2K in this round, and Asian pushing in through China. Bry stuck in a very difficult position over by Tetris. He's stuck in a 90-degree crossfire, but he deals with one. A bad drop connects to the second one, afflicting the audio cue of Asian just being a little bit too loud. A 5-1 split at the half, a phenomenal defensive hold by X13, and they propel themselves into a perfect position as they start their attacking stint.
Disappointing attack game for Team Mystic, giving the 1v1 fight not working together in that last round. The 1v2, the Diffuser trapped in jail. You're not going to get a clearer representation than that. So it looks like X13 are going to pave their way through Villa. I remind you, this is their map choice, but Mystic are no slouch on the map. It just seems that they weren't prepared today. And the way that X13 have been playing has just been lights out. Strong performances, especially Bry, J-Slime, Craze. Everybody is doing their part, filling their role, and it's giving X13 a lot of lift under their wings. Only one round away from map point now to open up the series. Mystic are going to have to just completely switch around their game on the defense in an uncharacteristic event. Mystic really aren't coordinating together. Their chemistry is one of the big selling points of this team, but I'm just not seeing it here today.
One thing that I am seeing right now is just Bry going nuclear. He is a great player, but he has just elevated his status so far in map 1. Every gunfight he's taking, he is making it look easy and effortless, and that's something we have to now monitor as he switches away from the Lucy role into the Zofia role, since he's now on attack. But playing that secondary entry role with an angled grip, 2x sight, I mean, that's going to be an incredible position to be in when taking future engagements. So X13 seems to be a little bit all over the place for this attacking execute. A lot of them are spawning over on Fountain side, but now they relocate over to the south side of the map for a study-only tank. The problem with this call now is it's wasted 30 seconds and barely X13 has their foot in the door, but J-Slime is now working his way up the main stairs. I spoke too soon, and now he's taking gunfights and winning them. He finds one, his second one presents itself, and he collects 2! They line up for him! A 3K in the round! We haven't even gone past 50 seconds in the round, and Team Mystic only has 2 of their teammates left. Now only on 1 as Craze. Silence in a terrible position over by the hunting vault, and he gets finished up. That's a 60-second round, and X13 propels himself to match point.
What an event. I mean, just a complete wrecking ball colliding with Aviator in games, and Mystic can't even put up a fight. Players lining up for J-Slime, who's making it look like child's play with the Ash, and X13 now stand 1 round away from completely shutting up all spectators and sending us to a very early break at this point. Team Mystic, I mean, what is going on? After this map, you gotta take a step back, because this is plain weird. I don't know if it's the fact that Asian hasn't been playing with them recently. Of course, some of you might know Asian got well, I won't say false banned, but there has been definitely some speculation that his ban was not really correct. I don't know why Asian would cheat, not merited, as our producer says. And so maybe he's just stopped playing with them, because it's been kind of a mixed bag. Some leagues allow Asian to play, but Upsurge just made the decision his MOS files are clean. There's no evidence that he's been cheating in Upsurge, so he's been allowed to continue playing, which I have to say is a decision I really agree with. But maybe he's just not been playing. Maybe the practice isn't there, and so Mystic weren't ready for this? I don't know. They're this team that's supposed to be this like all-terrain vehicle. You know, they can play under any circumstance, but just been completely shut out of the game here on map 1.
I mean, I've never seen Team Mystic like this. Even back in their aggro days, sure, they'd have bad games, but never a 6-1 bad game. Sometimes they'd make mistakes, sometimes they'd stumble, but they would always pick themselves back up. Now, map 1 is not over yet. Villa is still underway. You have to win by 7 rounds in regular play. Unfortunately, though, what does that mean? If Gunner is now droned out over here on master bedroom side of this pro Nagel, not in the bathtub, but in the showers, and he dies, that's not going to be a good position for Team Mystic to be in to hold their bomb site. But J-Slime pushing up, he spots the feed! Somebody start shooting! Finally, the shots will take place. It's J-Slime that shoots first. Gunner now falls. That was exactly what we were talking about. If Gunner is unable to win that gunfight, it's going to be a bad day for Team Mystic, because the entire north side control is in favor of X13. They spot one rotating away deeper in to planes and games. J-Slime unable to capitalize on it, which is actually a win for Team Mystic. If they were able to lose that engagement, that would have been an incredible loss.
Such a disastrous start. Gunner tried to play the ranked spot in the bathroom, tried to make a big hero move, but shut down. At least Mystic had been able to fall back, and it's not just a complete steamrolling by X13, but J Slime can make anything happen given a moment's notice. The shielded games should have just been cleared, and a nade will be tossed up to make sure, but there are still a mountain of ADSs. We'll see the rare presence of a thermite here on Villa being used to open up the hunting vault wall. If this is allowed to go off, this could be a real difference maker, but the Cades Silence Electroclaws doing good work to make sure that does not happen, to delay or deny altogether that inevitability. The hunting vault wall is going to provide just one more small area of cover. Silent is going to pull off a big trade kill, shutting down Bry, who has been on a heater so far, and another mistake is going to cost X13 is crazed with the TK, and now Silent to double down on his earlier pick for J Slime. It's going to leave X13 in an oddly disadvantaged position.
Still control for X13. They have control from 90 as well as through Study. That's going to be their crossfire, but they're playing as very separate individuals. The separateness is going to hurt them. Two of them now fall. It's a good round for Team Mystic. They're able to address those issues, but partly because X13 just pushed through a fatal funnel over by the zombie door. What an incredible angle that was just shown there in that kill cam, but X13 really wasn't dynamic enough on that execute. They just tried to go for the default plan of either maps or behind the gun vault, but since they had no information, they didn't really have enough pressure. They just died to a very tight angle also over by U-Bar. And that's probably partly because Thermite made a mistake. Snows tried to put his Thermite charge flat on the ground to blow up the bottom portion of that gun vault wall, which is a very common thing to do, and why we see a lot of Thermites picked, particularly on Villa, because every floor is soft, and Snows seems to gravitate towards Thermite too in other engagements. It might just be the operator he prefers, but nonetheless, with him unable to open up the gun vault based off the mistake, it hurt X13 in the long run, and that just means Mystic is going to survive for one more round. Again, we mentioned how Team Mystic, they're not out of the fight yet, and they're going to continue in for as long as they can.
Yeah, they're going to take every opportunity that is given to them, because Mystic are not going to freely allow such a result for them to be just scored on. They're going to put up a hell of a fight in that round, a good change, making sure that it doesn't come to bear as just a 7-1. And Mystic kind of realizing a few mistakes. That has been more so the story of X13's play. They kind of figured out a few holes, a few gaps in how Mystic were playing, and managed to really isolate those. But despite the fact that in that previous round, Gunner made such a rat play in the bathroom, hiding behind the counter, he got shut down. You would think that would just demoralize a team. For somebody to make a play like that, you got to feel frustrated already off the bat. You're in a 4v5, but Mystic managed to recuperate, and I'm going to need to see a little bit more of that moving forward. But look at this. X13 could be preparing to execute a pantry tank.
I love that coordination. You see that frag grenade pin get pulled. He put it back in his pocket, which doesn't make sense from a military standpoint, but since it's a video game, he calls in that reinforcement for the flashbang to go over, and then he again repulls that pin of that frag grenade. He destroys the mute jammer on the wall, allows Snows to open up that long corridor over by Pantry. But unfortunately, X13, they don't have any flank drones near that basement. And now Crazed falling. That is a lot of free information off the board. You saw one of his frag grenades already used, but he still had one in his back pocket as well as that Gon 6. Now, since X13 is pushing that vertical angle, they open up that astronomy hatch, which will allow J Slime to hold one of the rotation parts of Asian. He won't be able to now return back through that China stairwell. His only option is going up the red stair. So hopefully at some point, Asian either has information, an audio cue, and decides not to take that gunfight, because if he does, X13 and J Slime will have that high ground, but they miss that opportunity entirely. Gunner pushes up. He rests in a completely different corner, and unfortunately, you can hear it from Reese in the background. Nobody was quite prepared for it, but unfortunately, Gunner, he doesn't find the impact kill.
Oh, big Nitro Cell sent up by Silent. Takes J-Slime down for the count. Yes, Gunner, he kind of fumbled the bag, but the trade is there, and Mystic are going to hold on to their man advantage. 4-3. Under a minute remaining, X13 really have got to try to change this round, but they still have Bry, who can really make a solid impact at a moment's notice, with decent utility in reserve for the lifeline. Snows is going to drop back to make a rotate. One player spotted out, isolated the pick. Elsis will move us back into an even fair fight, but there's only 30 seconds for this play to be made. Bry pestered with bullets trying to play for the vertical game up above inside statue. Now lifelines will be sent out, but the concussion does not detonate. The proximity does not alert them for Eddie, who will pick off Snows, but Elsis is there for the kill. Silent though the trade. And now it's all left up to Bry in this round to see if he can secure the clutch. Mystic are not playing together, but all will be needed is a single bullet from Silent there. He'll land the shot, and Mystic string together 2 rounds.
X13 was trying to accomplish a lot in the round, and they just didn't quite have the man count to be able to do it. That was a 3-floor execute, pushing from the basement, the middle floor, and the top floor all at the same time. And when you spread out your troops so much, you can see how Team Mystic takes those gunfights. They flank from positions that X13 wasn't prepared for, and they just start to take gunfights, 1v1 gunfights. And you as a defender in those scenarios, you're going to have the positional advantage because it is your map. We saw that from the vigil of Asian downstairs in the basement. We saw it for Gunner. He had the positional advantage. Unfortunately, he just didn't land the shots. And I do have to admire Gunner. He is always trying to find unique ways of taking gunfights and unique ways of trying to make the attackers second guess their positions. It's very hit or miss, though, and you've seen him go for it now twice and miss both times, but to his credit, he is wasting time and he is dishing out some damage when he does that. It's forcing X13 into worse scenarios as they go for their final executes. And when they go for those final executes, they're always at a man disadvantage.
Five and 1 at the end of the first half, and now checking in 3 rounds through half number 2. Mystic have kind of pulled themselves up by their bootstraps. Still a 3-round deficit to try to fill, and 3 more opportunities for X13 to close this out and make sure that this event here does not have to go into overtime. But I feel like Mystic have kind of gotten over some of their earlier frustrations. Yes, J-Slime and Bry have been kind of a unstoppable object, but Mystic have kind of figured out the rhythm that X13 have been playing at, and their defenses look a lot better. More team play is being shown, and just some individual gunfights being won, but definitely not so much in that case. Asian trying to play for a memo roam will get shut down by Bry, putting his 14th kill up on the kill feed. Now look at this. Eddie punching holes up through the rooftop. This is going to alert Bry, who could be preparing for his second pick of the round. Playing at the bottom of the angle, the head is spotted, but the kill just not able to be netted there for Bry. Even knocked off balance by an air jab, but that utility will simply be wasted without a result.
Was that air jab placed on the floor? Gunner, what are you doing? A mad lad! A nitro cell from concrete. Snows has no idea what just happened to him. Craze has kind of worked it together. What an incredible showing. Now, those rooting gates do make noise when somebody walks into it, not when they're disabled, but when they temporarily turn off. So X13 should have been able to hear that, but unfortunately, you just don't expect it to happen. That was an incredible high-risk, high-reward strat. You know what? It worked for Team Mystic. Unfortunately, Gunner will now get punished 30 seconds after that engagement, but at least he made it hero play. Kix is getting bullied over here on Astro. He spots one, but doesn't control the recoil, and he falls as well. Team Mystic only has 2 of their operators alive. 60 seconds left in this round. It wasn't looking good for them, but they're starting to get more refrags. It's tied up because J-Slime should be felled momentarily. There he goes off the board. It's going to be an incredible defensive execute if Team Mystic is able to hold down their fort. which sadly they won't.
Nope. It's all closed down. In round number 10, a 7-3. Great start for X13, despite a strong attempt at a recovery there at the second half. Fortunately, Mystic, just too much to try to work through. Maybe if their first half was a little bit better, they could have held on for longer, but fortunately, that's just not the case. Villa, X13's map selection, and their first win here in the semifinals for this best of 3. The second map will be Mystic's pick, Cafe Dostoevsky, ahead of us. I don't know, Chief. That could go either way. I think Mystic are going to be solid on the map. Of course, they want to go here for a reason, but if they fall into the same pitfalls that we're seeing at the start of Cafe Dostoevsky, there could be problems lying ahead.
I will say though, Mystic has moments of brilliance. Some of those plays that we've seen are just heart-stopping, puts a smile on your face. But same thing can be said for Brian, all of those flick shots that he had. But Reese, I think we can agree Team Mystic made a lot of mistakes, and during this 5-minute break, they will have to address those issues. With that being said, we're also going to be stepping away. Don't go anywhere. Keep this tab open. We'll be back with you in 5. Hello, welcome back to UPL. We currently find ourselves in the middle of our first semifinal, and there's kind of an upset taking place. X13 would take their own map pick, but against Team Mystic. The underdogs currently are leading this series, and I'm excited to see what they're going to be able to do as we move into map 2 of Cafe.
Yeah, we've got the second map coming up here. I mean, it has been fairly back and forth so far in the second half of the first map, but I mean, it was just a steamrolling for X13 for a lot of the X13 attack rounds, or I totally just got them switched back and forth in my mind. Anyway, X13 kind of have been upsetting and sort of undermining Mystic so far, so I wonder how that's going to translate now into Cafe Dostoevsky, where maybe things are a little bit more set in foundations for Mystic, and maybe they're just prepared to play a little bit more than they were on Villa. We'll have a lot of questions for after the game, and maybe I'll have to take an opportunity to speak with one of the guys on Mystic, because we've just been left with a lot of question marks.
I wonder if it's just a frustration level of Team Mystic. Maybe it's because, they're not able to practice as much as a team due to that awkward ban that took place recently. But again, Team Mystic isn't looking like their old self, and X13 looks like they've done their homework. That map 1 was practically flawless for them, but now they're away from their map pick. They're going over to Team Mystic's map pick. So they may have not done their due diligence with this map because, again, Team Mystic, while they have played Cafe in the past, it has been a few play weeks since we've seen them bring out a Cafe compared to Villa, which has been played by Team Mystic practically every single series that they've been playing lately, not just here in UPL, but in other leagues. And that puts a lot of information on the market for enterprising players, support staffs, and IGLs to start to absorb that information.
Yeah, there's just so much film. You could very easily kind of step into this and try to counter strat Mystic, and I think more X13 were prepared to kind of play Mystic's game. They were prepared for the players hiding in rat corners, especially Gunner, who was always looking for somewhere he could weasel his way in, but we're ready to jump over towards Cafe Dostoevsky. Some casters like the map, others not so much, but when you got two teams of solid caliber like X13 and Mystic definitely are, I'm sure we're going to have a great showing off the board. Already aces out of the mix.
Range hard breaches are always just important. You have to make sure the attackers don't have that in their arsenal. Thatcher is most likely going to be that secondary ban. We have seen Capital fill that role before. Again, this is one of those maps where you've seen Thatcher sneak his way on through the ban phase. Again, that is so rare, but the fact that Thatcher has been allowed in the past month to be able to slip through ban phases is still rattling my mind. Mira most likely to follow, followed by either a Valkyrie or a Maestro. Again, similar bans so far to our first map, information being so critical. Valkyrie able to place those cameras in just about every single position possible and imaginable. Far too many places for the attackers to look, so more sensible just to remove her outright in the ban.
Nobody likes to have to step out of their way to bring something like an IQ to try to clear that, and X13 have quite a curious ban. They're going to remove the Vigil, which, I don't know, Chief. I guess I see the merit. Vigil can be frustrating to clear on Villa. It's very vertical. A lot of opportunities for a Vigil to drop down a floor and suddenly become just into the wind almost, you could say. So banning out the Vigil could allow a little bit more expediency on the behalf of the attackers, but we'll head up to Bar first, so that Vigil ban not really going to play a part until we see Kitchen and the tertiary hold of reading and dining. We'll see the 6 pick, Habana, instead of the IQ and the Lion. Definitely a curious choice here by Asian.
So my guess, we saw that Vigil ban for two reasons. One, because X13 wanted to play Mira, and two, because Gunnar does some wild stuff. He is going to hide in a corner and do things that you just don't expect. And if he has that Vigil, that means he has a little bit more coverage in those corners because a drone just might miss him outright. So I think X13 just wants to make sure they can just drone the map effectively and maybe also nerf one of the operators that Gunnar is good with. Nonetheless, though, that Vigil ban will not affect X13 at all until 6 rounds. And with Mira in play, no surprise that we're going to see X13 go upstairs into the bar first. And you can already see those long angles being created by the shotgun. So you can just place the Mira windows on one of the two panels. You can put one over by Lumber, which is towards the east side of the map. And the other one tends to fit over here on Washrooms, where Craze has just finalized that. So when that ping goes out, it's a traditional Mira placement. And this is the map that made Mira oppressive. Because good luck ever won into no man's land, and you can just Nitrocell deny them or just outright swing behind the Mirror window.
Let's see how Team Mystic approach this one. If maybe they're thinking about rotating for a cocktail take, or if it's just going to be kind of a standard attack. Getting control of Piano is not going to be easy when you've got the Mira and all of the holes open inside Freeze. A lot of the kind of middle step 2 or step 3 of these attacks, after you get control of Piano, then you're looking to get control of Freezer. With the fact that the wall has been already open, it's not really going to be possible. But this Gunner will drop down immediately, spots out and takes a chip out of the intel game as a Yokai positioned near new balcony. It was just a little bit too far forward. That could cost him, but look at the Nitro sent up, detonated, but fortunately, a little bit too slow. Gunnar had already moved out of the way. If that Nitro was detonated, maybe a half second quicker by Bry, that could have been a freebie opening kill.
Such an unfortunate mistake for X13. And look at the control that Team Mystic has on the full west side of the map. This is something an attacking roster should never have when Miras are in play, but Team Mystic, they fought hard to achieve that. They burnt some utility and they just kind of snuck by the coverage of the Mirror window. Now Craze is in an awkward position. The only thing that is keeping him in this spot is that one mute jammer he has on that wall. Otherwise, those X-Kyro pellets would have gone off. An attempted line scan call, but it doesn't get wrong fast enough. Asian falls, but Gunnar able to get that refrag. Craze still in a very awkward position, trying to expend his Nitrocell on the white window, but Gunnar's able to shut that down. He does get down in the process, though. LS tries to push that up. He has to be very careful. The window repel, and Silent's able to seal the deal. Gunnar's still down, but not out, but since all the coverage of X13 has now fallen, he should be a relatively easy res.
Great pick off there by Snows will put us back at 2-on-2 and negate Mystic's advantage. Only 35 seconds to go, but the Yokai still being a real frustrator. However, the sudden use of the Yokai is going to give them a bit of a clearer picture as to what defenders remain in the fight. Gunner's third pick. Now Snows down for the count, and Bry tries to go aggro, but Gunner shuts it down for a huge quadra kill. Mystic open us up in phenomenal form.
That Nitrocell over by New Balcony would have been the round ender for X13. If they just pulled the pin on the Nitrocell a second sooner, Gunnar would have died to that position and he wouldn't have found that 4K. And an incredible 2 of those kills were on 20 HP. If X13 shot him once, it would have been all over for Gunnar. He would have been unable to do anything. He'd have died almost instantaneously. Now Team Mystic, they were able to get control practically for free. The mirror windows of X13 were almost like they weren't there because Team Mystic just walked right past that. X13 needs to address that issue moving forward. And I think it comes down to the aggression level that they had. As soon as Craze was identified over in Washroom, stuck by himself in that scenario, and even when he died, we saw X13 trying to play off their fallen comrade's position, refill his shoes, but that just forced them in this aggressive scenario where they lost more and more of their roster count. Moving forward, if Washrooms falls, I think X13 just needs to write that off as a lost part of their defense and just try to correct it by holding over to the east.
I wonder if maybe you move the Melusi that's at Pixel towards like the middle of Piano, closer to kind of mini bar and the double door, and then put like a Wamai magnet to try to protect it. If that could allow this setup to work a little bit better, because Mystic just kind of walked through Piano. If you can't slow them down and you don't peek them while they're moving through the space that can be seen from the mirror windows, why are you bringing them in the first place? Maybe you need an extra Melusi or an extra piece of barbed wire or something to slow them down, but I guess there's also the idea that Mystic, I mean, one Melusi, that can be cleared fairly quickly just by having Gunner use one of his lifelines.
Brian, an extended roam downstairs. He put some of those green barricades up just to make sure Mystic has a little bit more of a difficult task directly deal with it. That could have been one of those adaptations that X13's electing to make. Go for a Nitro Cell denial. You just couple the information with those mirror windows and grab free kills. Now, Asian will get brutally murdered in that scenario as he was removed for free. Gunner just pushes on up, finds one, unable to get that refrag, but he loses his life after going for a secondary engagement. That was Team Mystic trying to do a focus push on that second floor, unable to secure those kills, and X13 allowed to still roam here with their Nitro Cells being present.
A dangerous reality. One Nitro Cell could throw completely the round off balance. And a late setup for Mystic, who have one player out on the east rappel for a cocktail. Silent is just kind of waiting there, seeing if he can accomplish anything, and other players up on the rooftop, still droning it out. I mean, this is really a weird tempo that Mystic have accomplished. Oh, Craze having a real hell of a time. Nitro sent up, but Kix manages to just dodge out of the way. Now to try to play, but he recognizes the mirror window is still up. Oh, no. That is going to cause a real problem. You've got the mirror windows. You cannot try to play inside Piano at this point. It's going to be open season for X13, but Silent is still causing an awful lot of problems from out on the rappel, constantly reminding X13 what is on the come, but oh, Craze just walks back up from the red staircase. I don't know what even happened there. Kix just forgot about it, or I don't have an answer for that.
40 seconds left on the clock. Mystic forced to take the remainder of their engagements with a man disadvantage. Jay Slime, who relocated himself deeper to the north side of his bomb site, is going to be attempting to hold a very long angle. He does have support with the player sitting over by washrooms, and he's going to have a very dangerous job going up the white stairs. A rappel on in for Silent, collects onto one, but Crazed, who is all over the map, applying pressure at every single twist and turn, deals out that final kill. Mystic was able to take round one, but they'll be unable to do so in round two based on X13's full send on that second floor.
Too much on the second floor, really. I don't think it gave Mystic enough of benefit. But, I don't know. Maybe if you go there again, go for a complete cocktail push, because that felt like kind of like a half C. It's like, oh, you know, we're going to go below. We got somebody out on the window, but, you know, also we're trying to come in from the other side. So maybe you bring a buck into that composition and the take could be a little bit better fleshed out. Either way, that's the first two rounds out of the path, and we're still sitting at equal odds. 1-1 going to Kitchen. X13 looking to play more of a turtle setup this time. They do have the shield being brought out by both Snows and Elsa, so theoretically you could try to play a VIP extension. With the reinforcements on Garage, I think that definitely will clue you in, probably going to be a hold from VIP. But you don't have a Wamai being brought, so the ADS is really going to be stretched thin. If you want to hold VIP, you got to have that shield remain up, but you know, if Mystic have even a beginning level of coordination with the utility, they should be able to clear that shield out no problem. There are two ADS. Send in a flashbang, send in another flashbang, send in the grenade. It's that simple.
I kind of missed the old days, Reese, where you'd have to, I guess, triple flash that, bring somebody else the flashbang, and then go for a frag. because that was kind of fun to watch teams coordinate. I know it wasn't fun to play, but I do like seeing teams, synergize and create, counter strategies on the fly, because you're right, that is a very basic hold. It's something that they've seen probably 1,000 times now, but with the rework of the ADS system, it becomes a lot more easy to deal with. The only caveat to it is if you don't execute in a timely manner, those ADSs reset and you have to go back to square one. Now, J-Slime playing aggressive over on the white stairs, as well as somebody else from X13 playing aggressive on the red stairs. It's just this two-pronged assault for X13. They're trying to hold the second floor as long as possible. J-Slime moves a little bit too much in that lion scale. He now gets identified. Bry's rotation back to his bomb site down the white stairs is heard by Gunner. Bry instrumental in map 1. Unable to participate here much in map 2 as well as in round 3, as he only has 1 kill.
I was gonna say for a moment there, Chief, if you time traveled ahead of us into the decider map, but no. Kix is gonna collect another as Mystic really look like they're on a hot streak. Gotta give credit, X13 tried the roam, but it did not work out at all. They burnt a little bit of time, but 1 minute and 20 with a 5-on-3 advantage. That's definitely workable. X13, it's all about if they can play together now, but J-Slime has crept up the brown stairs trying to make a play. He'll find Eddie, bringing us just a little bit closer. Mystic have reorganized. They're going to try to push from Bakery now that they've dealt with the players up above, but the utility over here is fairly minimal. Should be able to open up the wall, but J-Slime, just a weird peek from inside of Coat Check, and now problem solving for Asian, who's trying to clear out maybe an Electro Claw, maybe up on the top of the wall, but we'll have to wait for a little while longer as Asian is still struggling to deal with this. Nope. Gone 6 goes in, but none the wiser. But Gunner, a huge play out of nowhere from inside Small Bake. He picks up 2, and Asian the final pick just from up on the vertical. Really impressive stuff there for Mystic.
That looked like a normal Mystic attack. That's what we were missing back on Villa. That coordinated execute where they surround a bomb site and then they just instantly execute, where everybody starts to pressure the bomb site. One coming in from prep, one coming from, well, it wasn't the breach at the time. It was from prep as well as through Whiskey Long and from above. And they just pushed, they took gunfights, and they won it. They overwhelmed X13. They weren't able to look at all those positions. Why? Because X13 was holding crossfires. But with the execute that Team Mystic had, those crossfires instantly were broken down because the individual X13 players were forced to take 1v1 gunfights. Unfortunately, there were multiple members of Team Mystic pushing, so those 1v1 gunfights were converted into 2v1 gunfights in favor of the attackers. A textbook way of executing without actually opening up the breach. Now Team Mystic, after winning that kitchen execute, they can start to apply that lesson being learned to every other bomb site, particularly as they start to go into a meeting room.
All right, well, let's get a look at how X13 are going to defend this. They're bringing in the Goyo, the Jaeger, and Wamai, so that's going to let you know that this will be a top floor extension, and I would be shocked, really, if they didn't extend to the top floor. Holding up above has been meta for about as long as Cafe has been played in the comp rotation, and this site in particular. The real question for me is, how much should they try to develop further west that you go? You know, is there going to be reinforcements on the red wall? Will there be barricades? A castle hasn't been brought from X13, so that's not really an option. With the fact that castle is gone, you're probably not going to hold too far out on the west front, because Mystic are going to apply a lot of pressure very quickly, and so all you're going to have is barricades. X13 already have a strat in mind where there's more reinforcements inside of kind of the mining and train area, so your reinforcements are spread fairly thin, and that's not really an option, but could be a fight coming fairly soon for Gunner as he's out on the balcony. 8-1. Really an impressive stat line so far. As much as X13 have tried to bring their strats to bear on the Russian map, well, that's just not the whole game. You've got to have the guns to execute those strategies, and X13 have had them in some moments, but the one quiet note has been Bride. Not anymore, though, Chief, as he'll go prone below the window. What a shot there. Bry, some real cojones on him to peek the reverse rappel.
And then to also barricade that back up, the likelihood of somebody living that scenario is just so low. And then he peeks again. He was being pinged by the Lion scan as well. Brian realized how good Gunner was in previous rounds, and Brian says, hold my beer. I can do the exact same impression, taking gunfight after gunfight. Now, Craze, he tries to go for a swing. He misses his shots as Nitrocell doesn't connect. The first casualty for X13 takes place with just over 80 seconds left in the round, but still X13, they have good positioning on their upstairs holdover by Cocktails. Their deployable shields or ADSs are something that Team Mystic needs to deal with. They dealt with the ADSs, they dealt with the shield, the frag grenade, but they didn't calculate J Slime. A 2K for him over by Heaven. Diffuser is now surrendered, and Gunner, he might be sitting at 8-1, but he needs to finish round 4 at 11-1 if he wants to be victorious for his team in this round.
All right, well, let's see if you can make it happen. Spotted one player down by the hell door, but just a little bit too languid on the kill, but swinging the corner. Wow, J Slime, a bit of a slow reaction onto the sudden appearance of Zofia at the cocktail door. Bry has not conceded control of the top floor, and Gunner, he might not be aware of that. The late flanking Malusi could be the ultimate nail in the coffin, but a 2-on-1, especially when these individual fights are given, it'll be a rotate up above. An excellent way to play this is now Gunner is left asking questions. Where have the defenders gone? He's got to try to plant, and with an open hatch, that's an easy rotation route dropping back down. Gunner will bail off. I feel, though, maybe if he had stuck that Chief, he might have been able to get it down in time. The Malusi was going the wrong way.
He would have got it down because Malusi was checking the default plant. That was, what, a 3-second sprint over to default. There's 3 seconds left on the clock, and then he would have been gunned up. He also knew where the other player of X13 was, the shotgun wielder, because he could hear him remodeling the floor above him, but not on top of him. So even if that shotgun hole was opened up, Alice probably wouldn't have been able to actually see the planter. Again, sometimes you just have to weigh the opportunity cost. What happens if he ends up dying? He goes 8-2. Big deal. It's Gunner. His KD is already so crazy that one death won't affect him at all. Again, pros don't fake, but unfortunately, he got off the diffuser at the wrong time. That should have been a different round for Team Mystic, but it didn't happen, and we'll just move on with it. And X13 will then move on with a win in the bank in round 4, moving back upstairs. Round 5 is going to be a bar defense. The first time we saw a bar defense back in round 1, that was a Team Mystic win. But in round 2, X13 would return back to the bomb site, able to win it. They addressed the issues stemming around the information game of those mirror windows. We see Mirror being brought out once again. So Team Mystic, are they going to go for the same push, clearing in from the west? I would love to see a cocktail-only execute, pushing in from reading room. But unfortunately, without the buck in play, that cocktail execute won't be quite as effective as desired.
We were talking about the potential for change on Team Mystic's attack plan. I like what X13 have done. That slight little move of the Banshee that was at Pixel, now down to the bathroom door in Whitehall. That tiny little change. Because of what happened last time, Mystic kind of walked through Pixel door and applied a lot of pressure directly to the bathroom. That's going to make sure that that isn't really possible, but ill-advised there from Craze, and Gunner is really going to let him know about it. You gotta love Gunner.
Dude, I love his BM, man. It's so fun. Oh, now, Bry, you could type in all chat, too, and say, what are you doing there, Zofia? Bry spots a drone. He spots a head. Nation now falls. This round is all over the place. Honestly, Team Mystic is one of my favorite teams to cast because you just don't know what's going to happen. You guarantee one thing. They're going to take gunfights.
Wow.
And win it. I have no idea why J Slime took that gunfight. And I have no idea how he lost it. I mean, that's Team Mystic for you.
I mean, J Slime, what was that? That's what we call shooting just to shoot. J Slime, really, I don't know if you should be peeking in that position, especially after you lost Craze early, and so getting both of the soft destructors. That is a really strong trade, but now the only value is the util that has been lost. Of course, Jaeger, his utility, it's all set and forget. The Mira lost her Nitro, but at this point, that doesn't really matter, as it's straight up gunfights in the 3-on-3. Air Jab continues to beep away in the background. Silent's got eyes, so Z-Ping, one of the countertops, maybe signaling that a default plant could not be possible in the scenario, and it definitely would not be possible given that there's a Mira inside the bathroom, which provides a clear sightline to the default plant. Having that open pretty much negates all types of possibility. Elsis continues to hold back. Mystic unable to clear out the windows, and so kind of stalling out at this point. Kix will move, trying to wide swing, but he's completely occupied by the player inside bathroom, but Snows is rather passive, and so we'll miss out on the opportunity to get the kill for Kix. Finally pops up, but that indecision Snows played it far too passive despite full intel. You have to peek there. You cannot be playing passive. If you don't kill the player inside bar, you're just gonna get killed from the player in heaven.
I have no idea what just transpired in round 5, because it was a combination of over peaking. We saw Craze be the opening death, and then Gunner would over peaking die. Asian would be the same thing. He would overswing White Stairs, followed by Jay Slime's overswing of the White Stairs. And then at the end of the round, X13, maybe they realized that 2 of their players died being too aggressive, and then they were so passive that they died. Again, it seems like all 10 players in this lobby, their aggression dials are being cranked up to 1,000,000 and being cranked down to like negative 1,000,000. They're just all over the place. They're just maybe trying to learn their opponents, but you just played a map. We're currently in map 2. I would be shook if they're still trying to feel out their opponents and try to break down those macro strategies. I think it's just players starting to get a little bit antsy, or maybe it's the fact that, you know, they lost an opening duel, they being X13, so they're going to be trying to double down with aggression, and then once they get that refrag back, Team Mystic realizes they have a man disadvantage, so they try to be aggressive. At the end of the day, honestly, teams taking gunfights is really why we watch these matches, because they're entertaining.
Yeah, especially in T3, T4 Siege, a lot of times you're not watching it for the strategies. This isn't Pro League. You're watching it to see what players like Jay Slime and Gunner and Bry and Eddie can make happen. Some of those miracle plays really get you hyped up. Final round of the first half, though. Mystic hold on to the lead, but here's an opportunity for X13 to put us at 3-on-3. Of course, you'll remember the devastation that happened on the first map. Already we've got ourselves a more competitive map, but if X13 win this round, things could start to get away from Mystic just a little bit. If they can't transition from attack to defense with the Vigil ban, that could be a problem.
Air jabs went out into the piano. Where did they go? What a strange way to put them. It was almost like they're on the red breach. So if X13 in future rounds goes for a flank, that's a very common one over by Pixel, but you heard 2 of them go off. Again, it's a different style of play. Maybe Team Mystic, they just don't want to get flanked, and I don't blame them, because the last time that we saw X13 win bar back in round 2, it was based off Craze coming up the red stairs. So if you're able to lock down that position, maybe you could change the fortunes for Team Mystic. But they are starting to expand out their assault a little bit more. Eddie's back on that heaven window. He broke down that gate that you heard that was using one of those drones. So at the sacrifice of information, but when he's repelled in that position, he really doesn't need those drones.
This day and age, you can kind of get by on them for a little bit, but this round has just completely been upended. Silent will miss out on an opportunity to fell the player at Woodstack, as Elsis, really feeling the mounting pressure, knows that he has to do something against 4, now only 3 Mystic members. Not going to peek that angle with the shotgun. Such a long angle, but the mirror window still up. It's just not going to provide enough of an advantage. Elsis just got to peek here. This is just so difficult to win constantly being pressured and funneled into a hellstorm of bullets. Mystic are going to move away 4-2 at the end of the first half. They claim their advantage after a solid attacking performance. Really good work there from them on the offense. The coordination was there. It was absent on Villa, but that's soon to be fixed.
It looks like Team Mystic, the roster that everybody knows and loves, was just silent on Villa, and they're starting to come into their own here on Cafe. Now, they are a team that is known for their attacks. They tend to always select attack as their primary, execute. So you have an option of in that map ban phase, whether or not you start on attack or defense. Team Mystic always gravitates more towards the attacking side. So they're able to accomplish their goal. A large round lead going into their defensive stint. And since it's Team Mystic, I can promise you they are going to be doing some absolutely banana plays. Watch for Gunner. He's going to be roaming around the entire map, probably on that second floor, trying to use that nitrocell and then executing up one of the stairwells, trying to go for some type of large flank. And X13, they do need to be prepared for that. But since they were the roster that banned Vigil, I think they have some understanding that Gunner is going to be lurking below them.
That is sort of Gunner's main game that he likes to play, the lurk, the roam. He did it a lot on the earlier map of Villa to middling success. Sometimes it worked all right, and other rounds it really didn't do anything for Mystic. This is just like, Mystic have just completely copied the strategy that we had in the previous round. There's like barely any changes. I think the one notable departure is that instead of the Echo, you've got Maestro, but I mean, when you think about it, that's not the largest change, but I guess this is just what you get with the meta. Oh, Gunner! Just peeking. Frey's taking a boatload of damage, thinking about a Nitro up through the new Balk hatch. X13 are just not getting anything for free here.
Gunner is just one mad lad, and he's just ran away into the humidor. Thankfully, he gets thrown, but with full information, J-Slime sprint challenges Gunner, and now he's starting to prep out a run out. He could fly out one of these west windows if he gets an audio cue of a repel, but there are repelled operators for X13. Unfortunately, none of them being over towards the west, so his run out will be purely in vain. Another drone going in his direction, and that is 4 drones Gunner has killed off the rip. And still more members of X13 are very eager to address this scenario as he continues to run and lurk. With the red wall being open, he's a dead man walking, but he's not, as he falls out through the window and is allowed to live.
You're kidding me, right?
This is what I wish I could curse on broadcast, because there is a particular 4-letter word I want to say, but I'm not allowed to. Oh, apparently I'm allowed to say things that don't start with F, so I guess good to know, but it was the other one that I'm not allowed to do.
Gunner is just, he can't be stopped. Not only gets the kill on a J-Slime, he also gets the other soft destructor and is not been cleared from Cigar Box. Just gonna continue to wait here, and they don't drone him. Are you kidding me? I guess Snows is just gonna face check and win the fight, but that could have been a world of disaster. Else it's just too slow. And Asian walks right back into Pixel.
I have no idea what's going on. I really cannot tell you, Reese, what is going on. And now Maestro is tasing. Oh, it's like a silver lobby taking place. Craze flies it through heaven. He collects onto one. That mirror window was previously dealt with by X-Cairo pellets before, but X13 has control of the bomb site. Asian forced to go for the relocation, and he relocates the kills. He lines 2 of them up. X13 falls. Team Mystic does the most banana play imaginable, starting with Gunner. What?
I just, this is Amateur Siege at the finest. Snows is like talking about lag. Come on, man. It's not Xbox lobbies. God, this is just This is just weird siege. Well, Mystic are 5-2, Chief, so it looks like we're probably going to the decider map of Clubhouse at this point. Just weird. I mean, Gunner allowed to jump out the window, come back in, survive, and get another pick?
I don't know, Reese. I don't know what happened. You could be a T1 analyst and not know what just took place there. It was just Team Mystic doing Team Mystic things. I mean, if you were to, you know, give a Wikipedia page to Gunner, and if you were to just explain what Gunner does, you would clip that upstairs bar play. You would show him running around, shooting, running out windows to rotate and see, yeah, that's a Gunner. That's what Gunner does. I mean, you just have to shake your head and say, all right, moving on to round 8. And hopefully X13 is able to address the craziness of Team Mystic, because everything that Team Mystic is doing right now is just absurd. But again, that's Team Mystic. They want to force X13 into certain areas that they're not comfortable.
Okay.
It's an X13 rush! Snows is already in the bomb site. He's already planting, and he dies in the planting process. X13's rush isn't working at all. 2 of their rosters now left alive, Elsen and Craze. It's now all on Craze, who is nowhere to be seen. He's over by Big Bakery. A Hail Mary play decision by X13. It doesn't work. Oh my god.
All I gotta say about that is that's the Mickey Mouse X13 right there. What? They just rush in. Just a prep rush. Mystic are on map point, I guess, but I'm just gonna stop for a moment and just let this game sink in. This is, you know, I have to say, at least this is not like sleeper mode cafe, like, oh, here we go, the 109,256 cigar take with util burn and a pixel shield. Like, this is at least interesting.
I don't know,
but for all the wrong reasons.
Well, we've always been accused of being the super serious duo, Reese, you and I. I think everybody has found what it takes to break us. I feel like a broken man. I just don't know what to process anymore. I don't know what's reality. This game is incredible. And honestly, I think, I don't want to speak for you, but I'm going to, sue me. I think we honestly live for matches like this, Reese, where they are so unusual that they're fun. Because again, we jokingly mentioned this earlier, but we, as an audience, as casters, we tend to want to see games that are so far in left field that they're fun. We want to see these crazy Hail Mary plays, and Team Mystic is a roster that is, you know, capable of delivering that. I guess even X13, I have no idea what that read was downstairs in kitchen. I hate to be, you know, a Debbie Downer. It wasn't the play.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, X13 are just throwing out the kitchen sink. Maybe they'll take us a little bit more seriously as we get to Clubhouse,
nope.
But no, I mean, what? Silent, what does he jump back out for? He gets the kill. He should not even been allowed back in. He comes back out of the window, peeks it again, jumps out again.
I mean, the worst weapon in the game on defense, the Pulse UMP, is able to remove an incredibly important operator for X13. That Thermite now off the board is going to significantly hurt X13 moving forward. And they're going to have to at least go back to the drawing board. Now, they could possibly go for another Hail Mary execute, but I highly doubt that as X13 still tries to push their way on forward. J Slime is now on the second floor going for an execution. He's able to connect to a kill. I can't even see him. And Gunner's lurking upstairs as well. as back and forth, but Team Mystic has the man disadvantage moving at the halfway mark of the round.
Okay, I mean, that's pretty much Bry Rip Bozo. Asian is going to get the down on a J Slime. A res at this moment would not be the call to make, but look at this! Gunner's going to drop down into Pillar! He'll get the confirm, now spots the player holding a dark corner. The Nomad looking the wrong way! Elsis, put your headset back on! This has gone from a 4-on-2 to Craze dead on the ground, his body cold, and Mystic a 7-2.
I'm lost for words, Reese. This game just doesn't make sense. I have lost my sanity. I have gone mad after Cafe. I mean, Cafe was something. I don't think there's a single word in the English language to describe Cafe. And I think you said it best. At least it's not the boring, oh crap, pixel play. Let me burn ADSs.
Oh.
Let me destroy deployable shield. Oh no, I'm attacked. I have died. It was, let me snort G Fuel and fly out windows, rush plants, and die. I mean, incredible. I live for this. I want more of this. And fortunately, you as an audience also gets more. It says going to be another map. Clubhouse, Mystic's best map. And I promise you, if you love the shenanigans here, we will have more shenanigans, but that'll be taking place in 5 minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Upsurge Premier League Spring 2021 semi-final. We're here with map number 3, Clubhouse, a decider between Team Mystic and X13. It has been a wacky night of Siege so far. The cafe we just got done with left a lot of weird, miraculous moments, runouts galore, crazy rank-style play. On Clubhouse, I'm not so sure if that'll be possible, but we just have to get into the game to see if it will be. Once again, my name is Sticula. Almost said my name was Chief, and Chief is joining me here.
Wouldn't it be the first time somebody's done that in an introduction? I remember you did it on one of the Face of Collegiate Championships, and I think Jonah did it as well. So it happens to the best of us. And hopefully everybody has recovered from map 2. Hopefully you've grabbed some water, and if you haven't, please make sure you attach a seatbelt to your gaming chair, because I think you're going to need it. Because, Reese, I think you're entirely wrong. I think we're going to see even more runouts, rank star clips, and maybe, just maybe, a barroom stock.
Maybe we'll have some more rushes. I'm definitely looking forward to that.
So.
We have the one round that came out of nowhere. X13 just blitzed their way in through kitchen prep. Clubhouse, the only real rush opportunity you're going to have will be the basement. If you see maybe one team who's playing the SSG roam up to the top of the building, you just come right in through dirt and just make yourself at home, essentially. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump over towards Clubhouse and get a look at what our operator bans will be like. On the previous map, and even the one before that, it's been fairly standard. We've had ranged hard breach, Hibana on Villa, Ace on the Cafe, and as well the Thatcher filling that other attack ban void. Thatcher banned out first here, and I would suspect you're probably going to have the Hibana or Maverick ban second. Before even the pregame, as myself and Chief were discussing our expectations for this series, we were kind of hoping for a Clubhouse without a Thatcher ban, just because of the variety and the freshness that gives you. Fortunately, not going to happen here in this semifinal best of 3.
Team Mystic was one of these rosters that pioneered swift executes on every single bomb site, where they just clear out the map quickly with their drones and then they just pushed on a direct execute. I'm hoping to see things exactly like that moving forward into Clubhouse. And with information operators starting to fall once again, Valkyrie, it's going to allow Team Mystic to have those levels of just quick push the bomb site instantaneously, because you can't allow X13 to constantly grab information. Mira was allowed through on Cafe. She's been allowed to sneak through those ban phases a little bit more lately, but unable to do so here on Clubhouse. And honestly, I would actually kind of like to see maybe a Cade in play, but the reason he wasn't banned was the fact that Maverick's on the board. He's able to bypass those Cades outright, and there is Maverick. Probably no need to run Cade, but still, you can try to rope the attackers into positions that they might not be particularly comfortable in with that Cade, such as downstairs in the garage of CCTV. We see players put those Cade claws in those invulnerable spots on the East Main breach. But if you put them over on the 2x2 panels and bottom garage, that means that secondary hard breacher won't be able to open up those walls until they rotate the Maverick over, and that can absorb a lot of time.
We'll talk about that SSG roam that I mentioned during the ban phase. We'll have it on the first round here, the Vigil, Mute, and the Mozzie, those chief operators, letting you know what the strategy will be. We do have the castle absent here, so maybe less of an SSG roam and just a full hold up to the top floor, but we've seen teams play an SSG roam without the castle. You just kind of play it a little bit differently when you rotate back down, and given that the castle isn't in play here, X13 could apply some pressure to try to cut off the rotation back, or they could try to rush in from dirt. Those are a few of your options. The spawn points from X13 are really going to tell you everything. If they come in from construction, a full 5 stack, I imagine this is probably going to be the flat out dirt rush. And look, we have immediately from the get-go all 5 members over there, but not exactly looking like the dirt rush will be materializing, unless maybe it will be. I don't think so. You're just going to open up dirt. J-Slime will watch for the main stairs. This Craze ascends to the top of the roof to try to sledge open that logistics hatch.
We've seen SSG roams, or technically the derivatives of this, because this is not a textbook SSG roam that has Castle and other operators such as Leeson in the mix, but rosters have decided that they want to go for full site hold. And Craze just drops instantly into Logi. Gunner summarizes it pretty well with the question marks, because that was an incredibly aggressive play. Sure, Craze got the opening kill, but he had lost his life in a refrag. The reason behind that is a loss for X13 is you're going to need Gunner, or you need Craze to be alive for that sledgehammer to start to remove the ceiling away from Kitchen. But now with Asian falling, maybe that casualty won't be as important as it once was.
Yeah, you would have liked to get a trade there, but holding on to the man advantage is still a little bit more valuable. Oh, J Slime, what a shot. He just completely swiped onto Silent. J Slime, that was a real display of form there for the Ash. Sending Silent back to the main menu with that move. It's now X13. Look, there's a player inside Church, and what is Kix doing? He misses his opportunity to get the pick onto the player coming through. Ash just walks into blue, as you do, and J Slime makes an example out of Eddie, leaving it all up to Kix. SMG 11 players are not great for the long-range fight. The head of the Maverick just teasing the corner, but Kix has no luck. Now the Zofia moving down the long haul, but Kix has nowhere left to go. And X13 will race forward to an attack win in round 1.
Oh, you definitely need to start to fasten your seatbelts here for map 3, because the shenanigans from map 2 are already starting to carry over. We're only one round in. Team Mystic decides to go for a full map defense. X13 says, hold my beer, let me just remove you one by one, and just rush in through Church, taking that control. And since Team Mystic only had 2 players left alive, none of them anywhere close to sight. The one that was closest was over in blue, and even he couldn't hold down his own keep. X13 with a good round win, and basement being shown once again by Team Mystic. With their operator lineup, it seems like it's going to be more or less the exact same style of play. But interesting to note, Gunner is now on Vigil, and Asian is now on the Mozzie.
Okay, so we've had a bit of a switch up there. I can't really comment on what the impact of that change will be, but, I don't know. Hey, Gunner got first pick last round. Gunner doing Gunner things. Yeah, that explains it. X13 moving away from the Thermite. They had the ace last round. They 6-picked into it, but now Snows is just going to bring the Therm. So I have to wonder if maybe they were anticipating that this was going to be like a gym hold. Because, like, Ace is good on CC, but I don't know. What's your thoughts, Chief? The Thermite over the Ace?
I think it just comes down to Snows. He constantly is gravitating towards Thermite. It just might be personal preference. And you know what? I can't fault him. I actually like Thermite over Ace. I don't want to tell you, the 5.56 angle grip ACOG just feels really good and better than the 2 times angled grip. Just personal preference. Now, if you do need hard breaching utility, if you have to have the 3 Selma charges, then of course bring out the Ace. But since you're gonna be going for a kitchen hot drop because the hatch isn't reinforced, who really cares what hard breach you have? It's a send into the bomb site. Silent finds the first kill, but J Slime is still on the hunting pack. Unfortunately, X13 is falling one by one. It's now on Bry, the only member of X13 who didn't go for that full hot drop. The diffuser is surrendered in kitchen, and Team Mystic has incredibly long angles. A second full send rush for X13 hasn't worked out. You asked me, why did you bring Thermite over Ace? It just didn't matter when you YOLO the hatch.
Mystic managed to escape the rush with all 5 defenders still alive. Silent, the only player who's even scathed. Gunner will be shut down. The second swing is just too much for Bry to handle. And Mystic, I have to wonder, maybe that was a bait play. Maybe they left the hatch open to try to bait them, or maybe they just forgot about it. I don't really know at this point. I mean, what? leaving the kitchen hatch unreinforced even. I mean, that's like a amateur mistake.
I have to give Mystic the benefit of the doubt. That was a 6 million billion IQ play that we just saw there. Like, I refuse to believe Team Mystic just said, "Oh crap, we made a mistake. We forgot to reinforce kitchen hatch," and they were just able to capitalize on it perfectly. Why? That's my hypothesis. Is Silent was already like pre-ADSing that spot. He had bullets going down range before the hatch really broken, or it was just broke. And either that was just pure luck timing on his part, or he was prepared for it off some type of information. Again, maybe it was a misplay and Mystic just played it better. It doesn't really matter because Team Mystic won that round. They're going to go to a completely different bomb site. CCTV upstairs will be the desired hold. And this is another bomb site where, in theory, you could rush, you could thermite breach east flat wall.
A good long time since I've seen like a full team rush, but I think I saw a FPL clip recently where Drip breached the CC wall, just ran into sight, just ran in right on through. Surely X13 aren't gonna do that though. They're gonna take this. They're gonna be a little bit more measured. They're gonna take it slow and play it smart.
You hope they do. You hope that they play it smart, but since they're not running at the breach right away and Maverick is the one opening up going for a Maverick trick, it seems to be like they're going to do it the normal, old-fashioned way, the boring way. Lines starting to be drawn. You do have to be very careful that you don't have your forehead removed. That's why Elset is currently on this upside-down rappel, and he has Bry holding the coverage. Now, J-Slime is pushing on the exact opposite side of the map. He soft breaches that small wall and starts to find himself in a foothold of here, pre-firing just about every single angle. The initial push-in was without any drone information, and that hot drop for Cranes is going to be his undoing, unfortunately. The second round where he just YOLOs in through the Logi hatch, and Team Mystic was now prepared for that style of play.
Yeah, they were ready for it, and they capitalize immediately. Asian lurking below now. The wall has been open, but X13 aren't really actively watching it. Zofia could be the cover, but I mean, look at this. Gunner is actively peeking out of the breach, challenging and making sure that X13 cannot be confident in their hold. Now Asian will look to try to play from below. Snows rotates in. The exothermic is actually successful, oddly enough, and Silent will miss the impact grenade. So that's going to mean the wall has now been opened successfully. Gunner's trifling at the CC breach is now dead and gone. Great pickoff there by Brian. Snows only needs a single headshot to shut down Silent. Now moving the man advantage into X13's court. Asian totally flashed out, but still holds on and manages to force J-Slime into the drop. 2-on-3. The Ash player has got to make her mind up whether or not she's going to rotate back, maybe go out on the rappel, or I don't really know what she's going to do at this point, but that won't really be a question we have to ask, as Snows is doing all the work for his team. At least he was until Addy picked him off from at the rafters opening. The players for X13 are not holding together in this moment. That could allow Eddie the opportunity, and Nitro will be sent as J-Slime links back up. Nitro, it'll be recovered. This is going to be a close shave, but I think there's a lack of intel. The Maverick will bail off it again as J-Slime nearly taken out entirely on his own, but Elsist will clean up from CC window. Great play there at the end, and X13 looking like they're in decent form here.
That was quite an interesting round, particularly with that final Nitro play. So we heard Silent throw the Nitro cell twice. The first time it lands on the bomb chassis, but it actually worked out really well because the planter for X13, Outset, was forced off the bomb because he just assumed it would land at his feet. He gets off. The Nitro cell didn't detonate, so he decides to go for another plant. He hears the Nitro cell go out once again. This time it lands, but it lands at the feet of J-Slime, dishing out a ton of damage, but not finishing off that player. Alsat was again forced off the diffuser as a result, and then he realized exactly where the diffuser holder was. He rotated over to the CCTV window and took the gunfight on Cade, who was just too focused on dealing with Cash. And unfortunately, Team Mystic, they had a good initial hold. They took gunfights. They ended up removing Craze after that Logi drop mishap. But then Team Mystic wasn't really able to do much of anything. They're still trying to go for the roam, still trying to apply pressure to X13. But we saw X13 do a great job of going for flashbang dumps, not on utility, but on soft breathing targets, particularly Asian, who was lurking over in bar.
2 rounds on attack so far. X13 have set the expectation, and maybe seeing if they can go above and beyond. We're kind of at the reset point here in this series. Of course, the first map was it was a real disaster. Mystic got completely shut out in the first half, put up a fair fight on the second. Ultimately, the map was closed out to X13, and then we had Cafe. I don't need to regale Cafe. It was just crazy play chained together with another crazy play. And, well, that puts us here on Clubhouse. 1-1 series all, and whoever can pull away in this map will book their ticket in the grand finals for the spring 2021 season. X13, pretty much the same attack plan, but Asian running through Khan is caught out of position. A really weird play. Just tried to kind of hold unsupported, and I can't say that he wouldn't have been predicting that hatch drop, because that's been the modus operandi for X13 every single CC attack round.
The East Main breach has now been opened up by X13, and they're still applying pressure over to the west side. They're pushing in through construction. They're pushing in through master bedroom. And now Thermite of Snows is able to start to open up that con wall. Brian Gunner is having their own private 1v1 duel as Gunner is trying to tease a run out from the east garage door. However, Jay Slime, who's been so instrumental in just about every single spearhead for X13, he gets a little bit too aggressive trying to rush into the breach that Snows has just opened up. Now with his body being forfeit in that position, X13 needs to start to cool down their jets. And we were highlighting that gunfight, and there it goes in favor of Gunner. Eventually, Brian got off that rappel, decided to take that gunfight. It's allowing Snows to push in, but he doesn't check below him. X13 has now surrendered the diffuser in the bomb site, and they're not looking good. Oh no, a Nitrocell lands at the feet, and he finds another one, and a good hold by Team Mystic as X13 just starts to push a little bit too quickly.
Really impressive defense there. I love the fact that Gunner held below. The Maestro was constantly being flashed and pressured, and so Gunner fends off the Thermite, and then Eddie comes huge. The Nitro launched the CC window. The Maverick simply could not fight back, and, well, that's going to put us in an equal fight as Mystic kind of flexed their muscles on the Clubhouse defense. We'll go to the first sign of the tertiary site, gym and bedroom, where Mystic are going to bring the Ella, which is really an unusual operator, but in fact, it'll be the 6th pick. So that gives us a little bit more clarity. Frost, one of the most common operators to see in the modern day contemporary gym bedroom hold. One question in my mind is whether or not the lack of the Wamai for Mystic is going to signal less of a full extension into CCTV, or rather into cache, like an active cache hold, or since you've got the Frost, maybe you're just going to play around con and open a logistics rotate.
So this is our first series in postseason to go all the way to 3 maps. In our quarterfinals, Mystic would play against Prevail, and they took that as a very fast series. Map 1 was a 7-2, and Map 2 was a 7-0. Now Team Mystic, they're finding a real opponent in this series. They're on defense here on the 3rd map of this series, and they're all tied up. And Common Wisdom says this map is going closer to the 3-3 split mark. So Mystic is exactly where they want to be, but still pretty close. They don't want to have, well, this game be that close. Why? Because they want a margin of error. They need some mulligans moving forward, but if it's constantly rounds being traded back and forth, that margin of error will be practically nothing. Bri of X13 is pushing his way into the strip club, now establishing a hold over on toilets. And he has full control of this base, or this first floor. No pressure being allowed by Team Mystic. Finally being answered. We're waiting for Gunner to do something Gunnerish, and it was J-Slime falling to him as J-Slime may have just tried to peek the billiards hats.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did. He tried to challenge it, and Gunner was just ready for it. And so J-Slime will cost his team a big portion of that soft destruction utility. It's not really a mistake you can afford to make here, Chief. They have got 3 shields if you count the 2 Vulcans from Kicks and Eddies. Already, that's all of Sophia's lifeline, plus one of the remaining frag grenades from Craze, which also will leave you with Banshees that need to be cleared. I think there's a bulletproof camera. Maybe I misspotted that, but either way, now you've lost another player. Craze goes down. 1 set of frag grenades. Now Elsist is going to have to use his as well, and so the impact of that death. Where is the gunner going? Just drops down the hatch. Didn't check it. Didn't know. Didn't care, really. That's what that says. Tried to fly on down and will lose his life as a result. Mystic have not been great in conserving these advantages. Now the lifelines will come to fruition, but so too does a great nitro launched out onto the jacuzzi balcony by Silent. Backing up into the hallway, Kicks will tear away at Bry and Silent. For the last pick, Mystic, round number 5, goes to their favor now with 2 in a row.
Excluding the gunner hatch drop of Jim, everything that Team Mystic did was quite calculated in that round. The way that they're holding the bomb site and the way they almost baited X13 into that linear execute where they're only pushing from the spa wall side. Sure, there's members of X13 on that first floor, but they weren't doing the traditional execute. The traditional way of pushing is the attacks split themselves up, pushing spa wall as well as cash box on the other side of the map. This time X13 realized, hey, we can just push the spa wall. We can just try to take the gunfights directly to Mystic, but Mystic was prepared behind reinforcements, behind their ADSs and their deployable shields. X13 needs to be a little bit more prepared moving forward if they ever see Jim Bedroom again. Now, fortunately, that was a round 5 victory for Team Mystic, so the only time we'll ever see Jim Bedroom for Mystic will be if we go into overtime, which honestly, Reese, could be a factor.
Frankly, I'd be disappointed if this doesn't go to overtime. After what we've had so far, 2 regulation wins apiece, and, well, not really a close game. I mean, it's been weird. Villa was very decisive for X13, and Mystic won Cafe, but that's just because they played the better ranked game, I guess. So now we're here on Clubhouse. The better ranked game. They won the ELO on that map, and that's that. But now you've got the castle in place. So we have now the legit SSG roam, I guess. But you also choose to bring Malusi and a Rooney rather than to have, like, who else would you bring? Like, maybe Legion and Mozzie and, like, a more contemporary SSG roam. I mean, at this point, it's that derivative that you talked about. We're not having the actual, we're not traveling back to the old meta, and, Canadians not IGLing this. Mystic are putting their own flavor, which tends to be kind of that increased level of aggression, and that's why the SSG roam works so well for them. When you're clearing this out, you're expecting that sort of, after you drone it out and apply pressure, the defense is going to fall back. Well, I'm sorry to say, Chief, Mystic don't always do that, and sometimes it costs them, like you might see here, because Bry opens up the skull wall, and now Craze will find Asian in Con up above. Silent, luckily, will get a trade as he thinks about scurrying back down to the walls of the site, but the loss is already here as... where's Eddie? Eddie's just inside cash? He's not on side, he's not back at home, he just gets aggro, and, well, I suppose it works.
I mean, if it's working, don't change it, I guess, but we're at the halfway part in the round, and Team Mystic, they don't have a lot of their friends left. It's now all on Silent. He's on below 25 HP, and he's now retaking the middle floor. The hatches are open, so he can go for a rotate. J-Slime's going to hear that drop, and J-Slime gets a free kill. Now, Reese, I have a fun fact for you. Did you know that Canadian wasn't the one that made the SSG roam? Actually, he was one of the first North American Pro League teams to play against the SSG roam. He played against it when he was on EG. He just made it his own when he worked his way into SSG a few months later and then worked his way into SI. But there's a great interview of him talking about playing against the SSG roam when he was on EG. And he was like, honestly, it was the only time I've ever been in IGL where I was like, I don't know what to do. So I always love that story. I always just think about one of the greatest IGLs in Rainbow Six Siege just stuck on Thermite, like, guys, I don't know how to help you.
First half is done and gone. 3-3. It's an even fight between both teams. The fair battlefield that Clubhouse usually gives us. So it's pretty much anyone's game from this point on. I'm really eager to see what Mystic are going to play for their attacks and kind of the pace that they set. How aggressive it'll be. Maybe if it's sort of more passive or... I'm not even sure what Asian is going for at this point. Maybe he's kind of hinting at his stat line. 1 and 4. It's been a rough game so far for him. But anyway, well, maybe Asian will pick it up. He's on Ashe. He's been given the R4C and the opportunity to do what Ashe mains do so well, which is be that entry player and force your way in to take map control. X13 have kind of favored more of these holds back at the site. Not exactly, you know, full anchor setups, but they definitely haven't done a structured extension more beyond the purpose of stealing a few drones. That's what we saw in a couple of the kitchen rounds that I remember from Cafe. They will hold above, they will shoot a few drones, and if they feel it necessary to rotate back, they'll try, but sometimes it ends like that, where they just take a fight because they don't feel like they can comfortably rotate back, and then it kind of doubles down, and the dominoes begin to further fall, because when you're challenging Gunner, you're really flipping a coin.
I don't know why that was a triple challenge for X13. I love the strategy that you're highlighting, the snipe away a drone and fall back. It's called an active roam, or what I refer to it as a staged roam. It's a great way of absorbing the attacker's time, but you just can't be so aggressive, because most competent rosters, whenever a drone pushes you, it's almost always followed by an entry fragger. And for Team Mystic, if Gunner is behind a drone, if Gunner ever smells any type of information, you will die, because he is just that mechanically good. He is a head-clicking monster, he is a head-flicking monster, and he's been phenomenal so far in this series. He's continuously heating up. Now a 4K in this round, attempting for the quad. He spots his assailant, but unable to kill it. Now Snows against 4, a swing and confirmed again, but more members of Team Mystic start to continue on their hunting path and eventually removing Snows. He tried to hold his fort down, but just was overwhelmed by Team Mystic.
Gunner just makes it so easy for Mystic. 4K pushing down blue. Yeah, X13 kind of fed him kills. They kept peeking when they really should not have. That was something beyond shooting drones and falling back. That's where your IGL is going to start to yell at you, because you should have given it up, but instead, it's peak after peak. Giving Gunner those one-on-ones is never going to benefit you, especially when he's got Zofia. That M762 packs a mighty punch, and Mystic come out. Success for them. Start building up their margin on the attack. It's no mercy from the orange team here on the final map of the semifinals, as they're looking to unravel the storyline and move into that grand finals position. A lot of pressure on X13 right now. Crucially, some of those fragging players, it's been a closer, more tight-knit game for X13 in this map, but somebody has got to step up and beyond. If Gunner's on a 4K, someone must respond. Somebody's got to rise to his level, and I fear that on the defense half, maybe X13 just don't have it in them.
Honestly, just stop banning Valkyrie and just ban Gunner. Problem solved. I mean, you need to do something to address that issue. You're 100% accurate on that. And it seems for X13, the way they are going to address the issue is changing up their bomb sites. I don't have a problem with the X13 defense, at least what they showed on paper. What I had a problem with was them just taking gunfights. And if you go toe-to-toe with Gunner, very rarely are you capable of winning that. And even Asian, for the most part, who I know is struggling in this series, but I honestly just chalk that up to Asian just not being warmed up, not being comfortable. You know, there's some things going on with his account with that manual ban that took place, and honestly, he could be one of the best players in the world. You know, he can be a champ rank 2 after all, and still just kind of get a little shaken up when you enter back in a comp match with not being allowed to play for about a week now at this point. And again, experience is always important, but if you're not in that competitive mindset, if you just take that step away even for a few days, it can change everything.
few things gotta change. What? Elsist? Come on! Give it up! What are you peeking that for? That is not gonna benefit you at all, but I like this peek. Snow's prone at the other side of the breach. It's gonna give the Maverick of Kicks a real reminder that trying to use the Surrey Torch to open that wall, he is never going to be free. We'll now see the Maverick actually rotate for the repel. I don't know what progress is left to make on the wall, but it's not gonna be easy. He's gotta be worried about if there's another peek. Now a Banshee cleared as Mystic are, well, transitioning into the con phase of this attack. The wall, it looks like, has actually been open now in the meanwhile. Utility used from up above to try to deny this is Silent will open up a large section of the wall. The impacts are just completely out, and so now Cash is going to be a real dangerous place to hold inside of, especially with the soft wall over towards CC window. Craze has not got a lot of positions that he can play in, especially being pressured by Asian. Frag grenade, it'll be cooked, tossed to the back, but lucky. Lamai Magnet from Craze will save the setup of his own, but as he rotates wide, gets felled by Asian in the meanwhile, bringing us to a 4-on-4.
Asian still trying to find kills over by Red, but he finds it, but his life was lost in that process. Eddie's now in the bomb site taking a gunfight over by somebody in Red. He will end up getting downed in that process, and Kicks is now to filling in his shoes. Bry's yellow and left for X13 as Silent collects on 2. He rotates up through garage. He gets it down with diffusers in Silent's hands. He can start to go for that plan. If he attempts the res, it is going to be him out in the open. So an effective 1v1, Bry's going to confirm his kill, but that's acting as a human drone. That means Kicks knows exactly where Bry was, but he doesn't look in the right direction. Bry finishes off Silent. Bry clutches things up and goes for an easy defuse. A round 8 victory for X13.
Tremendous play in the 1v2 there from Bry, and also, you gotta give it up to J-Slime. The play that he made, how does he ever win that fight from top of Red? He should have been dead 1,000 times over, but nope. It just doesn't. He doesn't die, he doesn't give up, and 3 picks, well, that just completely blows a hole in the Team Mystic boat. X13 4-4. Continuing to battle on. We'll go to church to see what they can make of this site. You'll remember last time it was the Gunner show through and through from Blue Jenny, working his way through and knocking down any X13 pins that sat in his way. So what changes are going to be made? Maybe X13 don't have player after player peek into the blue staircase? Maybe?
I second that. Just stop taking bad gunfights. Do what you did, X13, back in round 8. Calculated gunfights. Or maybe just bait Team Mystic into this false sense of security, or force Team Mystic to take aggressive swings, right? The way Team Mystic ended up losing that round is they're just funneling in through construction. And X13 was just able to hold the fort. Even in a 1v2 clutch, Bry had that good positioning. He was able to apply pressure to the planter through that long angle of garage. So in theory, X13 can recreate that success. Maybe you can just sit somebody behind Blue Jenny and look up the secret stairs instead of actually peeking the top of the secret stairs. You can do the exact same thing from toilets as well as from the main stairs. Really, you can be creative, wasting time. And even the gunfight Craze just took here, why it didn't get him a kill, it has forced Team Mystic to now address that issue. It wastes about 5 seconds, which can be quite important when moving into the execute.
Full drone stage for Mystic. It's a standard clear of the map. Try and suss out some of the positions from X13, but everybody's back at home, and the realization will be met soon for Team Mystic as they recognize. So hold back and play this similar way as they did last time, but Silent took an awful lot of damage. I'm not entirely sure where as well. It looks like he's inside the bar. Maybe that was Tabama Shift. I don't know what it was, but either way, Silent could be much better off in the health pool, and for your ace to be that low, only within a hair's fraction of health, could be the difference maker at the end of the road when X13 are looking healthy, and that same cannot be said for the AK-12 wielding hard breacher. Gunner will again make his blue play, Lifeline used to open up a deep angle just above box, I think that's box 3, to try to watch for the dirt door rotate. Really solid progress from Mystic on this attack. The hard breach has been well used. All of the various angles open in preparation for the next stage of this attack. It's just going to be kind of on the linchpin of the frags. Mystic have everything set up that you would expect for this scenario, and now his shield to be rotated. The smoker actually Elsa's pries it out of dirt and puts it up back at AKs, but will the shield be able to hang on for long? No, it will not, Chief, as immediately frag grenades are sent in, capitalizing on utility burn. And so now that's going to mean that Elsis is in a bit more of a tricky position. A replicator will drop, and there's only 60 seconds for Mystic to make this play.
I would still like to see Mystic open up that dirt tunnel. You don't need to push in from it, but as soon as that tunnel gets opened up wide, that's going to put X13 in a very awkward position because they won't be able to have that as a fixed position anymore. Asian finds the opening duel. Kix is going to be able to immediately trade it thereafter, and Gunner's still trying to fish for more kills. They roll in favor of X13, though. Mystic now has a man disadvantage. Craze over swings, is down but not out, forcing J Slime into an aggressive scenario over by the gen box. Drop by drop. J Slime finds 2 headshots, and X13 will take the basement round.
Good setup there for Mystic, but I think you hit it right on the head. The lack of dirt pressure really caused some problems. It's hard to push the defense out of AKs, especially if you cannot win that fight flat out inside a blue generator. There's not much that you can do from then on. Mystic tried to put all their eggs in the armory basket, but ultimately it's not going to work out, and at the end, X13 will gun them all down in the trenches, back Arsenal, and put themselves 1 foot closer. Match point, we're on the doorstep of it now. Gym and bedroom coming back once again. This was a bit of a weird sight, to say the least, from what I vaguely remember in round number 5 when we had Gym on display. You're going to play a lot of times for that extension over towards cash side, but maybe trying to focus on more of that jacuzzi take could be a little bit more valuable. Ignore the extension. I mean, you're going to have reinforcements, you're going to have a shield and ADS to try to play it top red, but X13 could think about holding back and maybe playing a little bit more conservative, but nope. Seems that won't be the case as Craze will open up the rotate. Shield goes down, and the picture is clear. X13 will play a full hold at CCTV and Cash to try to extend their hold on the map control, and they'll force Mystic to think about this in a different way. But one ace up the Mystic sleeve is the fact that they've got Gunner, one of the most capable problem solvers as an IGL in the all of Siege, totally. Gunner can make quick decisions on the fly, and sussing out the fact that this is going to be that top red cash hold that we normally expect to see on a gym round, maybe there could be a decision made from Gunner to try to adapt and rotate away, or maybe he thinks that attacking it head-on will be the smartest choice to make.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that Gunner is primary IGL for Team Mystic, because that just makes what he does even more impressive. The fact that he's able to entry frag, just bully people with his mechanical skill, as well as think through decisions. Very rarely do you see somebody that capable. Craze goes for it. A bananas peek in through the CC window, or the con window, and actually wins it against Gunner. Gunner seems a little slightly tilted after that, and it's going to force Team Mystic to start to find more kills. Asian's going to be able to do so, but Team Mystic still has the man disadvantage. This full clear over the southeast side of the map not working out very well at all for Team Mystic, leaving Kix the only one who is now currently gun up. It's a 1v4 for him. Diffuser surrendered. He flicks onto 1, now flicks onto 2. It's now much more winnable for Kix, but he still has an army to face. That army of X13, while only 2 strong, has good fortification over to the west side of the map. He's going to have to continue to move on forward, checking every single corner. He won't be able to drone himself in. He'll be able to drone out information, but there's a difference between gathering information and self-droning.
Realm of possibility here for Kix, but unfortunately, it won't work out. Great clutch attempt there by the Maverick, nearly whittling that one down, but ultimately the castle continues to play, and the missed Shaiko peek at the Condor will result in a round lost, and X13 now on match and series point 6-4. X13 have kind of started to pull away here, and Mystic making the decision to try to go for that full clear. We talked about, some of the benefits of that. It's a little bit more solid in the foundation, and you probably have more experience with it, but the expediency of trying to play the attack strat that X13 executed, taking control of Strip, moving in past Neon, and getting control of Billiards, maybe things would have looked a little bit differently. But now Mystic have got a challenge laid out ahead of them. 2 rounds in a row they'll need to win, and it seems the mental game has started to wear a little bit thin. Gunnar obviously frustrated by the peak so suddenly from Craze, and Craze just kind of tempted it there. He knew that he had to work a pick, and he did so. He held up close to the angle, and the pre-aim from Gunnar was just not at the correct level. I can't blame him. You're not going to expect a Frost to peek you, and that's, I think, where the frustration really comes from. Crouch peeking at that window, that's like a Plat 3 expectation. But sometimes a play like that is going to get you a kill, and shutting down Gunnar is so incredibly valuable because of the work that Gunnar can put in a single impact. I mean, talk about a 4K. Gunnar can come out of nowhere and whip the team into shape, but so far, X13 have had that. They've had Bry popping off, they've had some great plays by J Slime, and the rest of the team has all more or less been on pace to continue up with this pressure. Could be the final round on the cards here unless Mystic have got something to try and wrench this one back. No mistakes can be allowed from here on.
Well, that's a mulligan that we were talking about early on. You don't have that if you're Team Mystic. And if you're a fan of Team Mystic, if you thought they were going to have an easy sweep in this series, you were entirely wrong. Now they're at the disadvantage mark. They have to start to address these issues. And more crucially, they have to start to win rounds. They have to propel themselves into overtime. With Gunnar being the first casualty, though, that isn't looking good for Team Mystic. Their top frag has now gone silent. He's been sitting on 9 kills for quite a while, and now he's entered in the negative territory. He was carted away in a body bag, and X13, they just need to play patiently. They need to use this clock and deny insertions into the map. Asian has now fallen. The 2 primary entries off the board for Team Mystic. Their hopes in UPL starting to fall one by one. They're going to rest on the 3 remaining players of Team Mystic. Kix has now fallen. Only 2 alive for Team Mystic.
Time running low, and Mystic's opportunity to get a win here and to move on to the final round of regulation looking very unlikely now, as J Slime might have just laid the final nail. Craze taken off. The final kill, but the GG is already out in chat from Asian. The realization, it's Eddie against 4. And the work that he's going to have to do to make this winnable, it's just near impossible. J Slime will aggro peak, and Eddie continuing to slowly be whittled away. The health is low. Bry's got an impact. That's enough to take down the Buck. Alsa's got a smoke canister. If played wrongly, that could be the death of Eddie. He'll toss out a drone, try to get some intel, maybe to look inside. He'll send another drone himself to try to get intel on the interior of Cash. Spots out the smoke. Flashbang will be sent as he tries to bait it out, thinks about the peak, but will actually drop the hatch. I don't know if the intel has been recognized here. Skeleton Key will go out. It gets the kill onto the smoke. That's Eddie's 3rd. 30 seconds to go as he'll make the rotate. He's going to come in from garage side. He'll have to shoot out the default, and the realization for X13 will hit. Hopping onto the drone. Gonna try to get some intel, any shred of information that he can have. It seems like he might be aware of Snows' position, challenging in. The time is running awfully low. Only 15 seconds. This is gonna have to be the clip of his career for Eddie. Working his way in. No, he's shut down. Snows will end it. A valiant effort from Eddie in the ace clutch, but unfortunately, he does not cross the line. And this is one league chip that Gunnar and Team Mystic will not be able to win. X13 2-1. They move on to the grand finals.
What a series, Reese. I don't think anyone would have expected X13, the underdogs, to take this. Somebody the other day in rank said X13 is still a roster. They're still playing competitive Rainbow Six Siege. Absolutely. If you aren't thinking about X13 in future comp matches, you're just not using your brain because X13 is absolutely here. They want to win that grand final, and they're the first roster to put themselves in contention for that spot. They'll be playing against Synthetic versus Slaughterhouse Bravo. One of those rosters, they will win, moving them forward to the grand finals, and that loser will find themselves playing against Team Mystic in the third place match. And honestly, a frustrating day for Team Mystic. They looked phenomenal on map 2. Map 1 for Mystic was a little bit rocky, and even Clubhouse, they looked good. They had moments of brilliance, but some of those primary entries just started to get a little bit too quiet for Team Mystic, something that we've never seen them do before.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough one all night long, especially the Villa game. Mystic just looked like they were out of practice, and the map was too difficult for them to overcome. I think there's a lot of VOD review to do going back on this missed opportunity, some mistakes ultimately costing them, and well, Siege's game won by single individual mistakes, and the capitalization for the large part, I think, was better on by X13. They played Mystic's game, maybe a little bit of cockiness, maybe Mystic thought that they were just going to win because of that, point that you mentioned. People don't even think that X13 are a challenger when they beat Depth in quarterfinals, when now they have eliminated any chance of Mystic in the best of 5 grand finals. They booked their tickets, at least second place, and a great shot at the prize pool for this event. Such an impressive performance today from X13, leaving a lot of us in shock, and I think that was the big determiner here at UPL for this semifinal game. But with that being said, that's all for myself and Chief tonight. We'd quickly just like to tell you about, we've got another game. If you like Valorant, that'll be coming up. It'll be Orbital and Ravish who are casting the Illinois State versus the University of California Davis game, so make sure you tune in for that as well. I do believe we've got another broadcast coming tomorrow possibly, so make sure that you watch all of the social medias to learn when the next semifinal game here for UPL will be and who the other grand finalist is. But with that being said, that's all from us tonight. Farewell.